Hey, how's it going, guys? It's Technical Tim here, and I want to thank everyone so much who's been liking all my videos and subscribing to the channel, and I'd really appreciate it if you gave this video a thumbs up or subscribe if you haven't already. And I know obviously, I'm sure most of you know, with the coronavirus pandemic going around right now, that the next three UFC cards, so I think the London card that was supposed to be this weekend, and then the Columbus and Portland card have all been canceled. And I believe that would take us next to, let me double check. That takes us all the way, like I thought, to the Khabib Ferguson card, which obviously is not going to be held in Brooklyn because New York is one of the hardest hit areas in the United States right now. So that probably won't happen. Dana White insists the event is going to happen. I have no idea. So I'll kind of just play that by ear. I'm not gonna try to like research a ton of fights coming up just because I don't want to like waste my time, I guess. I mean, just because I feel like some of the planned cards that got canceled could potentially change even some of the scheduled cards now that seem to be intact. So I just really don't know what's going to happen, and I'm sure there will be travel restrictions just on some international fighters and some of these future cards that are still planned to where there could be a lot of change ups. So I just don't really want to waste my time, and I feel like we'll kind of see like changes to cards coming up. So I'm not going to go too heavy. So I just wanted to kind of point that out as far as future cards coming up. And just as far as the coronavirus as a whole, I hope you all are, um, first of all, I hope you're all safe. I hope you're feeling all right and that your family and friends are all feeling all right as well. And comment below if you just have any stories to tell or anything. As for me, I am in Chicago, so obviously very populated city. Illinois is getting hit a little bit right now, so I am just chilling indoors. Um, I'm not freaking out as much as other people. Luckily, for some of the stuff that I do, other than MMA betting, I work from home anyway. So as far as like income goes, I'm good. So that is at least fortunate for me. But I know probably some of the listeners and a lot of other people are probably being hit. So I just want to let you know. I think a lot of people are in the same boat, and I think a lot of people will be there for each other. So I think everyone will eventually get through this, even though it might be a little, scary for a few weeks or even maybe a few months. And I do think eventually this will just be a period we look back on. So um, I wish you all well, and definitely just take care of yourselves. And Yeah, that's kind of all I want to say. I do want to get back to normal because even though I do agree with a lot of what some of the MMA media is kind of saying, like yelling at the UFC and stuff for trying to like still have events take place, even though they did cancel the previous, the upcoming ones. The kind of the just the way people are talking, just the way the MMA media and like Luke Thomas and guys are talking down on others is very, very annoying. I generally do not talk negatively on people or tell people to shut the fuck up, but I think I sent my first tweet out kind of it's kind of just saying Luke Thomas is fucking annoying. Um, so yeah, the kind of Twitter's a mess right now just because I feel like a lot of people are kind of divided and a lot of people are scared. And I think, as far as MMA Twitter, some of us just want fights, but obviously it will be a little different um, for the next coming weeks and probably coming months. But I think we'll all get through this. And like I said, I wish you all well and definitely take care of yourselves. But now that I kind of talked about that, we do, whether or not you agree with it, and even though since it's taking place, I'm going to try to make some money on it. But Cage Warriors is coming up, and I have been researching fights, and um I generally give all my picks away on here anyway. Um, but I'll probably if I have any posts on my Bet MMA page, that those will be for, I'll put those up free picks. And I do not feel right charging for anything during this time. Um, so yeah, I think kind of I want to get through some fight. I do think Mason Jones around the minus 350 to 400 range is a good parlay leg if you can parlay him with anything else that you like right now. Like so I do think that he's a good grappler, but I'll go more in depth on that Cage Warriors card. Um, Tomorrow. It's currently Wednesday, 3:08 Central Time, and I will send out a full podcast. I've researched about half the card, and I'll just do a preview tomorrow night, probably like sometime tomorrow evening, just kind of discussing that card because the event starts Friday day, just to kind of give away my picks and just kind of analyze the card just so you guys have some content, so we have some normal life going on. But now that I've kind of talked about just the potential, how the UFC events upcoming are kind of affected by all this, and just kind of giving my thoughts and my I don't know, just kind of my hope that you are all doing well during this time and you take care of yourselves. And my announcement that I'll have Cage Warriors kind of analysis coming out tomorrow. I just want to give a recap of the Brazil card just to give you guys some content. And I didn't really send anything out yet this week because I really didn't know what the future held for UFC events and everything. But I figure I'll just give a quick recap for at least kind of my thoughts on the previous card. And actually, that Brazil card, even though there's no audience, it was a good card. There's some good fights on there, a lot of fun grappling exchanges. So I'll just go through that. As far as the event itself, I made a little bit of money on it. I had Marcos close out as Ribas close out as a parlay leg with Dawson. And I tipped that out a long time ago. So that hit. And then my Barzola bet pushed. And I'll kind of talk about that. So I made like a little bit of money, nothing crazy, but not glad that I came out positive. But Malecki Macedo, I had a feeling there was going to be an upset here. I just wouldn't bet Macedo as minus money really against anyone because she has no process to her game, doesn't have the best cardio, and she just kind of has a sloppy game. But Malecki just kind of had she was just kind of the bigger girl and the straighter shots, I feel, and kind of just eventually walked Macedo down and kind of bullied her. But yeah, Dvorak and Silva, Dvorak looked pretty good here. I'm going to keep my eye on him as a prospect. He just has a well put together game. He could defend grappling pretty well, and he really kind of won the fight pretty clear other than getting knocked down at the end of round one. I like his straight punches. I like his scrambling ability to get back to his feet as well. And yeah, he just looks like a pretty solid fighter. So I do think at flyweight maybe his skills aren't quite there. Like if you look at kind of Moreno and Formiga, and if you take a look at their fight, I think those guys just are on a little bit of a different level. But still, I thought Dvorak overall looked pretty good for a debuting fighter. And then Moros and Silva, this was kind of another one. It just I feel like if these two fought, it would always be a pretty close fight. Moros could kind of be the busier striker, and she can also kind of strike going backwards as well. And she was she kind of had to fall back on her grappling, though, and she did that a little bit against Sabina Mazo as well. And that fight kind of reminded me of this one, where Moros got an early lead and then kind of hung on, and Mazo and Silva both rallied. But Silva, she just doesn't. She plays guard too much, and I'm still kind of shocked she subbed Jillian Robertson because I don't think she's that great of a jiu-jitsu player, and Robertson generally has a decent top game. So I'm still kind of, I think it was Silva who subbed Robertson, so I'm still kind of shocked over that. But um, Morose just kind of was able to stay busy on the feet and kind of land her leg kicks and punches and clinch strikes occasionally, and just kind of string together a few takedowns. And Silva was just a little, she just wasn't good enough scrambling up to her feet. So that was kind of the saving grace here. And Silva, she throws hard and she's very come forward. I just feel like she's a little raw and she needs to work on her ability to kind of scramble back up and work for underhooks and work for some ways to get back to her feet. Then Barzola and Yaya. Uh, Man, so yeah, I played Barzola and I kind of thought what happened in the last like 6 minutes of the fight would be what happened kind of throughout the fight. And Barzola fought fucking terribly and he still got a draw. I thought a draw was probably the right side. Like I feel like that's kind of what happened. Even though if you look at if you judge that as a fight as a whole, Barzola obviously beat the shit out of him because Yaya didn't cause much damage. But Yaya really did have the kind of some of the positional game and positional advantages in the first 9 minutes of the fight, causing no damage though. But Barzola, what you need to do against Yaya, and Ricky Simone did it, and I thought Barzola, when betting, it is dangerous to expect someone to follow a game plan, and we've all run into this, and we will say, well, if fighter A would have done this game plan, he would have won. But you need to realize, like, following a game plan is something you need to kind of analyze as a bettor and see, like, what's the likelihood of them following the game plan. And I think Barzola's game plan, he could have sprawled and brawled or went for offensive takedowns, and he kind of did a little bit of that. But the issue here and what got him into trouble is he didn't pressure on the feet in the first 2 rounds. And when he started to do that kind of a little bit in round 2 and round 3, yeah, obviously was slowed down, so he was having more success with it. But if he would have done this earlier, I'm convinced he would have done it. But he would have won the first 2 rounds. But when you pressure Yaya, it forces bad shots because it's a lot harder to shoot when you're going backwards. And if you watch Ricky Simone pressured Yaya out of the gate, and Yaya's shots looked like shit. And when you're shooting bad shots and failing them, you'll gas quicker. And then it opens up your own takedown. So Barzola, I feel like, should have just not given Yaya much respect. And he started and go forward. And in round 1, he was backing up right away. And that opens up the takedowns for Yaya when you're going backwards. If you're going forwards, or if you're going forward, it forces bad shots. And you can tire them out quicker by pressuring them. And he kind of seemed, I just think he gave Yaya way too much respect, because I think with punches being allowed and in an MMA fight, I don't think Yaya subs Barzola at a high clip. And I think he gave him way too much respect, and he should have pressured out of the gate. And he shouldn't have been afraid to go for his own takedowns. And I think and Barzola usually pressures, so I expected him to, but he just kind of seemed a little hesitant early, and I think that opened up some of Yaya's success. And if Barzola, also when Barzola was kind of, when Yaya got his back in round 2, Barzola he could have tried to scramble out earlier, and I feel like he's a good enough scrambler to where it would have worked. I don't know why he got complacent. I think he was probably a little nervous with giving up some hooks to Yaya, but I just feel like he has a good enough scrambling game to where he should have just went for it right away. But I don't know. He should have definitely pressured early. That just was obnoxious. And he was jumping for submissions as well in round 3. And I don't know why he didn't try to go for strikes, because you're much more likely to land strikes and finish Yaya than submit him. And it just gave Yaya opportunities to scramble out. So Barzola, honestly, as far as a game plan goes, was like a 10th percentile type of game plan, in my opinion. And at least he got us a draw still. I feel like if he would have just fought kind of a normal, like 50% average game plan, I feel like he would have taken this easy, I think he would have taken this quite easily, but he gave Yaya way too much respect. Konchenko and Dos Santos, I kind of thought Konchenko won this fight, and it's hilarious. It was the most classic Konchenko fight ever, where he just was not urgent in round one. And I don't know if it's because he's trying to find range, but he pretty much always loses the first round. Then once he got his timing down, he was really outstriking Dos Santos quite easily. And then he gave up a takedown in round three, even though I thought he probably won this fight, but I had no action on this, and I kind of thought, um, whatever about it. But I feel like Konchenko, if he actually kind of maybe found his range or just started being more active early, he could have probably won this fight quite easily. But that's just kind of what he does. So I'm always hesitant about betting him in fights. Ribas and Marquez, I thought Ribas looked good. I like her cardio a lot, and she's a good grappler. She's super aggressive, and she's kind of the anti-Konchenko, to where she's always kind of doing the right things to win rounds. She's constantly throwing her jab or putting together, combinations on the feet. She's always going forward. She's attempting takedowns when she's on her back. I do like that because I did see a tendency against Emily Whitmire to play guard, but I liked that she pushed off the hips or she pushed off the quads of Marcos with the bottom of her feet to work up. And I like when people work to their feet. It's kind of the opposite of Maria Silva, where Maria Silva just plays guard and she doesn't really have get-ups. I don't know if it's a capability thing or a choice thing, but Ribas made the right choice against Marcos to work up, but she closed out a parlay leg for me, so I was happy with that coming through. Moreno and Formiga, I honestly thought a lot of people played Formiga here, and you guys know I've been kind of a Moreno fader for a while, and then he really impressed me in his last kind of couple fights, and I thought he looked good, and I've always liked his scrambling ability on the mat, especially lately. And I kind of thought Formiga doesn't really land strikes, and Moreno's probably the better striker nowadays. And I thought Moreno had good enough scrambling ability to probably give himself some opportunities. And I kind of just had a feeling, it was almost like a gut feeling that he would win this fight, but I don't read his fights well ever, really. So I was not willing to bet this fight because I just didn't really know exactly what was going to happen, but I kind of smelled the upset here, and it ended up happening. I had no action on this fight, but I thought Moreno looked really good, and I've come around on him. He's definitely showed improvement, and he has good cardio now, and yeah, he's got just kind of a well-rounded game, and he honestly might get a title shot at coming up in the future. Trinaldo and McDessie, Trinaldo's kind of one of those guys like Darren Till, to where I'm always hesitant betting against him, even though he doesn't land a lot of strikes, and I generally fade guys who are just low volume. But the thing with Trinaldo and Till is they don't get landed on a lot either, and that's kind of like Leon Edwards as well. And they don't get landed on because generally their opponents just are kind of gun shy because they have a power threat, and Trinaldo has a power threat, and Trinaldo's also the one going forward a lot too. So even though he's not landing a lot of strikes, he generally keeps fights close and is usually the aggressor, so he just gets a lot of rounds from the judges, even though like the raw stats on paper kind of seem to paint a different picture. But he's always been a guy I've kind of been even though he doesn't land a lot of strikes, he generally keeps fights close. And I thought he won this fight, and he was landing the harder shots, and it was a good win for him. Krylov and Walker, probably my biggest regret on the card is not playing Krylov. Easy to say in hindsight. This fight kind of going in is a little bit of a shit show, so maybe I'm just being a hindsight guy right now. But I just felt like Krylov has showed to have more depth to his game, and I kind of had just trusted his chin a little more. And yeah, and that's kind of it. And Krylov just kind of out grappled Walker, and I've always been skeptical of Walker. And yeah, that's kind of just what happened. Not much to say. Moicano, quick back take, he's a better grappler. Got a quick submission. Burns and Maya, I did do a small untracked play on Burns when the line got a little closer, and yeah, there was like late action coming on my end. I just didn't understand. Like, I don't think people realize how good of a grappler Burns is. And I just felt like Maya had a very limited win condition because he's not subbing Burns. Like, even if he can get his back at times, I think it's more likely Burns would sub Maya than Maya subbing Burns, to be honest. And although I think if they fight, neither guy, generally out of 100 times, I don't think either guy submits each other much. And so I kind of saw it as like Maya has to get top position for a long time to win this fight because he's not going to sub Burns and he's not going to outstrike him. And he also has to get enough top position to compensate for the disadvantage he had on the feet because Burns is a better striker. And that's kind of the way I saw the fights. I just saw it as a tough fight for Maya. And although it ended quick, and I'm always skeptical on first round knockouts, you kind of saw what I meant in the grappling exchanges. Even though Maya was really forcing shots early and he got Burns back at one point, Burns understands jiu-jitsu concepts much more than an Askren or someone else, and him getting his back taken is not nearly as dangerous as some of those other guys, and he can kind of scramble out, roll for a knee bar, roll for a jiu-jitsu concept, and escape. And that's kind of what happened here. Then Oliveira and Lee, I kind of expected Oliveira to sub him, and I mentioned that on the podcast, and that I just saw it as Lee. I couldn't imagine Lee ever surviving a 5-round fight with Oliveira. It's just, I thought Oliveira was probably the better striker, and although Lee is a good offensive grappler as far as submissions go, I don't like his defensive grappling. And Felder's, even though Felder, like a lot of people were like, oh, Paul Felder kind of like floated on top and punished Oliveira so Lee can do it. If you watch that fight, man, those submission attempts by Oliveira and Felder were so deep. And the way I saw it is, I didn't trust Lee to survive a ton of submission attempts by Oliveira. I just don't think his grappling defense is that good, even though he's a good wrestler with offensive subs, powerful offensive subs. But I just felt like these guys are probably going to be grappling at some point, and Lee tires out, and I just did not trust him to survive a 5-round fight with Oliveira if he slowed down a little bit. And I felt like he just kind of had to get Oliveira out of there early to win. And I thought, like, Lee's not that dangerous of a striker. I know he head kicked Gillespie, but it's not like anyone really standing strike KOs Oliveira all that often. And even if he went with the wrestling path, I thought he would be in a lot of danger at times. And I just thought he was going to get finished in this fight. And it was a fun fight, though, like very fun fight. Some of the grappling exchanges in that first round were incredible with Oliveira and Lee. I liked some of the grappling exchanges with Maya and Burns as well. And I liked a lot of them with Moreno and Formiga. Moreno was doing a great job. He was kind of doing the Scott Holtzman on the back takes on Formiga, where he would make sure on the back take that he always got one leg free quickly so he could spin into Formiga. He did it literally every single time on a back take, so it was fun to watch. But that's all I got for today, and I hope a lot of you are, you guys are in my thoughts, and I hope you guys are doing well, and I think we'll all get through this. But so my advice is to kind of try to stay calm. Make sure you got some food, and just be careful going around people. And I think at some point we'll get through this and our lives will be normal again, and we'll have UFC fights coming up later this year. So thanks everybody. Thanks for listening, and comment below if you have any questions. Thank you.